This is a presentation of BSRN, Box Studios Radio Network. The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here is your host of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for May 2nd, 2024. This is season 13, episode number 43, and episode number 428 in the long-running podcast that is the Power Play Post Show. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the show. I am your host, Bob Howard, and on a day where I'm recording this, which is Wednesday evening, so you guys can listen to it on Thursday, there was obviously news that broke that the Elmira River Sharks are no more. And so during this week that we are obviously gearing up, obviously Carolina Thunderbird fans and Binghamton Black Bear fans are gearing up for what is going to be probably a pretty awesome 5-game series between the two teams, which starts this upcoming weekend in Carolina at the Winston-Salem Annex Fairgrounds, whatever they're calling the arena these days. But it's at the fairgrounds, and it's called the Annex. So we'll just call it the Annex. Obviously, this news comes out, basically, that the Elmira River Sharks will be done and that the Elmira Aviators will be coming into the North American Hockey League, which is a Tier 2 Junior A program. There's some pretty good teams out there that produce some prospects and everything. And the program is actually getting better. And I saw a lot of hate, some dislike from the Elmira fans that are River Sharks fans. And I get it. I hope that this displaced anger that you have against basically the new team that's coming in will kind of go away. You guys will go and check out the team, the NAHL team, and hopefully support it. The running costs are going to be less expensive than the River Sharks. But I think also really what it comes down to is that you need to have your anger not at the new team coming in and really address it to the people who didn't show up to the games. Because one of the things the CCIDA talked about in their little press release or their little thing is that they needed to at least see 2,000 fans show up. And for a city that used to draw 3,000 and above, you didn't get there. You didn't even get close to there. And so the fans that are upset, I'm not angry with them. I feel for them. Because if you want to talk trash to any Binghamton fan, because we still have our team and you guys don't, and we don't understand, oh, trust me, we understand. We've had our team taken away from us more times than you guys can count. And you guys are getting there, though. I mean, you went from the Jackals to the Enforcers to the Mammoth so you guys are getting there. But the one thing that I will say that is true is that the Binghamton fans never stopped going to the rink. And though Tom Mitchell screwed us over a couple times, he did it twice when he sold the New York Rangers, the Binghamton Rangers to the New York Rangers and MSG, dragged the team away, and then the Icemen came in. And then before the final year of the Senators, he sold the franchise, knowing that the franchise was going to be gone. And he had to rely on basically the New Jersey Devils to come in to save the day, which we all know that the New Jersey Devils don't come in to save the day. They come in to use a market for a few years before they leave. And that's what they did with Binghamton as well. So I hope not to see anybody talking trash to a Binghamton fan about Binghamton hockey, about the Black Bears, or being a fan here, because these fans have stuck together and they have without a doubt, supported Binghamton hockey, and that's what's important here. So I hope that the tide changes in Elmira. And what I mean by that is I hope the fans that are angry, who still love hockey and live hockey, will go. And if you support and you get 2,000 fans to start showing up and 2,500 fans to start showing up and maybe 3,000 fans, maybe you'll get the pro team back again that you want. Maybe. I hope so. I really do. But it has to be a grassroots movement, kind of like you guys did with the petition. But the problem with the petition and having people sign that is that you had people signing it from Carolina and Columbus and, Motor City. And it doesn't make sense for those people to even be on that petition. And what does that show the CCIDA? It doesn't show them anything except for that still the same 500 or 600 or 700 or maybe 800 people from Elmira signed it. And you can't run a team. And I've said this on this show multiple times. So if Elmira, you think I'm picking on you, I said the same thing about Motor City. I've said the same thing about Port Huron and Watertown and Delaware. You cannot make a league successful with teams like that. And Don Kernan, he tried. This is the guy that basically everyone gives so much grief to all the time. And he tried. Offering them $3,000 for rent for that place, not worth it. Not worth it. Not worth the trouble. And I'm sure that, the FPHO would love to still have a team there because it's perfect for the rivalry between Binghamton and them. And, of course, having Watertown be close enough that it makes sense. But to me, it wasn't worth it. Unfortunately, Elmira just is not going to work out for maybe anything. I don't know. Because there's so much disdain between fans and the CCIDA, and selling it to a private company is not really going to work. There's too much money that takes to kind of build that up, and that's why Binghamton works. Broome County realizes what they have and why they need to maintain it themselves. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm done with it. Moving on. All right, we're going to talk about the playoffs and winning a championship for either the Binghamton Black Bears or the Carolina Thunderbirds. So here we go. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast and subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search Power Play Post Show. Check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. And on this edition of the Power Play Post Show, I think you might be our first D1 college hockey player, probably since the 11th season of the Power Play Post Show, which ran in 2015. He is the first D1 hockey player to be on here. He is Kyle Stephan. And I had a great conversation, and I really got into the conversation with him when we start talking about D1 hockey here in Binghamton, New York. So that's going to be great. But we are going to talk about the Black Bears and the Thunderbirds. Okay, so the Black Bears will face off against the Carolina Thunderbirds in the Commissioner's Cup Finals. Here is the schedule with the updated times as well. Okay, so game one will be Binghamton at Carolina on May 3rd, which is Friday, at 7:30 p.m. That is the drop puck. Game two will be Saturday, Binghamton at Carolina, May 4th, 7:35 p.m. That was supposed to be a 6:05 start time because they use the annex a lot for a lot of things, or the fairgrounds for a lot of things. They had to bump it up an hour and a half, so that'll be at 7:35. Originally, it was supposed to be 6:05. Game 3 will be in Binghamton. I expect this to be a sellout. I really hope it's going to be a sellout. This will be Carolina at Binghamton on May 10th, Friday. That'll be a 7 p.m. start time. Game 4, if necessary, which I believe that Carolina and the Binghamton will go at least 4 games. That'll be May 11th on Saturday, also a 7 p.m. start time. And then May 12th, Sunday, May 12th at 6 p.m., it'll be Carolina at Binghamton. If needed, that'll be Game 5. Now, this season, the Black Bears are 2-1-1 against the Thunderbirds. So let's go through these games here because they do tell a little bit of a story. which we like to do here on the Power Play Post Show. But at the same time, they kind of give us an insight on how these two teams played against each other. Okay. First game was in Binghamton, New York. It was Carolina at Binghamton. It was a 5-4 shootout win for the Carolina Thunderbirds. Okay. So that was a 5-4 shootout win for Carolina. Now, on the power play, Carolina had 2 power play goals. Binghamton had 3 power play goals. And then the shots on goal was Carolina 27, Binghamton 40. Okay. The goals scored by Carolina was by Gus Ford, Jacob Snopp, who had 2, and he was really getting into the crawl of the Binghamton Black Bears, and that's what he's good at. So that's one guy we want to think about right now. If you don't want the Black Bears to kind of dissolve a little bit, Jacob Snopp is the guy you need to shut down, okay? Now, he's kind of like Donald Oliveri in the sense of he likes to get into his opponent's heads, and Don is very good at that. Well, Jacob is too. Regardless if you like him or not, he's good at that. And he scored 2 goals against the Black Bears on that night. Dawson Baker also scored, and so did Roman Kramer. Now, remember, Gus Ford, Dawson Baker, and Roman Kramer, they're their top line right now on the Thunderbirds. They'll be playing together, okay? Now, the shootout goal was scored by Gus Ford. So technically, he had 2 goals in the game, a shootout goal, and then a goal in the game itself. Now, goals for Binghamton was by Nikita Ivashkin, who's no longer with the team, Gavin Yates, Tyson Kirkby, and Connor Smith. Now, the last 3 obviously still on the team and whatnot. So that was that. Now, that was one of the closest games of the bunch. Now, Carolina then played the next night on November 11th, which was a Saturday, obviously still in Binghamton. And as Binghamton does a lot of times, if they lose on Friday, they come back and they win on Saturday. And they did win this game 4-2. Now, in this game, Carolina had no power play goals. Binghamton had 1. Carolina, again, 21 shots on goal to Binghamton's 50. So already in 2 games, Binghamton had 90 shots on goal to Carolina's 48 shots on goal. So they almost doubled them. Goals for Carolina was Kessler Sky, who I don't believe is on the team anymore, and then Tucker Firth, who is still on the team. Now, the goals for Binghamton was Nikita Ivashkin, Gavin Yates, who had his 2nd goal, Austin Thompson, and then Brendan Stanko, as we all know, is up in the ESPHL. Okay, so that was a 4-2 win. So they basically split the Binghamton home series, and then they moved to Carolina basically a month later in December. So on December 8th, Binghamton came into Carolina. That was a Friday night, and they won the game 2-1. In the game, Binghamton had 2 power play goals, so both goals that they scored were on the power play. So at this point, Binghamton has 6 power play goals in the series, and Carolina at this point, because they didn't have any power play goals in that one, they only had 2 power play goals. Now, the shot on goal stat kind of flipped a little bit here, right? Binghamton only had 26 shots on goal, and Carolina had 40. So Carolina figured out a way to slow Binghamton down in this game. But again, another Friday night game, Binghamton squeaks it out and gets the win, but they don't play their style of hockey completely. But it was a close game, and they got the win on this. Goals for Binghamton was Tyson Kirkby and Nikita Ivashkin again. As you can see, there's a little bit of a theme here. Nikita Ivashkin, who's no longer with the team, has scored a goal in all 3 games so far. Carolina's own lone goal was Dawson Baker, who obviously is on the top line for them. And then we get to the Saturday night game, which is a little bit of a blowout for Carolina as they won this game 3-8 or 8-3. Power play goals again for Binghamton. They had 1 and Carolina had 2. So through this whole point, Binghamton has been able to score a power play goal in every single game in the regulation against the Carolina Thunderbirds. Okay. And so that was, I believe, 7 power play goals that they had against Carolina. Now, Carolina did score 2 power play goals in this game, this final game against Binghamton, which gave them 4 power play goals for the series. Okay, so Binghamton kind of doubled that as well. In the shot on goal department, Binghamton had 39, Carolina had 42, so very similar in the last game. Now, goals in the game, Binghamton got 3 goals. One from Nikita Ivashkin, who scored in every single game for Binghamton against Carolina. He's no longer with the team. And then Gavin Yates and Jesse Anderson. Okay, so Gavin Yates had pretty much a good game in 3 out of the 4 games against the Thunderbirds. And what's funny is he's been the best player offensively for Binghamton in the playoffs through the 4 games. So Gavin Yates is walking into a situation where he's already comfortable playing against Carolina, and he's already been playing good this. So I expect Gavin Yates to play very well in this series against them. But at the same time, I also expect Carolina to put their best D line and their best forwards against Binghamton's top line, right? So that only makes sense, and we'll talk about Coach Harrison for the Thunderbirds in a second because he's got so much experience. He's already thinking these things that I'm thinking of. Okay, so goals for Carolina in the 8-3 win was Gus Ford, Joseph Kennedy with 2, Peter Pananchek, who had 1, John Butita, and then John Salak, who is part of that Czech line, right, and who had 2 goals, and then Nate Keeley. So they literally had 3 goals from that Czech line, which is also a really good line for Carolina, and Gus Ford also had a goal as well. It seemed like the top line for Carolina scored against Binghamton in all 4 games. Okay, so that's the 4 games, right? So Binghamton went 2-1-1 against the Thunderbirds. There was a shootout loss, so they technically earned more points. But really, what it comes down to is they were 2-2 against the Thunderbirds. So they split down in Carolina. They split up in Binghamton. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the power play and the penalty kill, right? Now, the regular season, you could talk about this and say, oh, well, this really matters a lot. Now, you hope that Binghamton can get their power play going again in this upcoming series against Carolina. But Carolina in the regular season was 4th in the league with 23% and 49 power play goals. They were 7th on the PK at 78% and 41 power play goals against. Okay, Binghamton was 1st in the league with 29% and 81 power play goals. And as we mentioned before, no one was even close to them on the power play. That's why I think the power play really needs to check it in gear when they play this series against Carolina. I think it's going to help them if they can get it going. Again, they didn't get anything against Motor City on the power play, but then neither did Motor City. Well, Motor City had 1 power play goal. They were 3rd in the regular season on the PK at 82% and 44 power play goals against. Now, remember, they probably gave up more power play chances than the Carolina Thunderbirds. Okay, so now in the playoffs right now, Carolina is 4th in the league with 11% and 2 power play goals. They actually were the last team to actually be able to actually had a power play goal registered. And then they're 4th on the PK at 88%, and they gave up 2 power play goals. Binghamton, 3rd in the league in the playoffs, 15% with 3 power play goals, and 3rd on the PK at 93%, okay, with 1 power play goal. Who is the Thunderbirds head coach? Steve Harrison, okay? So he is a guy who's been around for a long time. So let's talk a little bit about his playing career because he's won 3 championships as a player. Now, back in the old days, there was a league called the Central Hockey League, and he played for the Salt Lake Golden Eagles, okay? And he won 2 championships with them in the CHL. Okay, that was in 79-80 and 80-81. He had a long playing career, right? He played from 77-78 when he joined the Kalamazoo Wings of the IHL in the playoffs. He played 1 game in the playoffs and everything. He played all the way until 92-93. So all through the 80s, he was playing professional hockey, except for in 91, 92. Actually, no, he played. It's just that the statistics weren't available. Okay, but he played all through there. Now, the highest he played was he played in the AHL, 2 games for the Moncton Alpines, and he also played in the IHL, which at the time, the IHL and the AHL were really kind of like neck and neck, right? They were both AAA, essentially, until they merged in the 2000s. And everything, but the IHL was really up there. They had affiliations with the NHL teams and everything. So, but he also won a championship in 86-87 with the Salt Lake Golden Eagles, but in the IHL because they moved over to the IHL when the CHL started to disband. So as a player, he's won 3 championships and he's had a very good career as a player. He's played at a high level. He understands the game very well. He understands systems, okay? And so let's get into his coaching career for a little bit, okay? Because he has won a championship as a coach. So that he's won 4 professional championships. As a coach, he did it with the Danville Dashers in 2016 and 2017. That team went 43-9-4. So they had a pretty good run there in Danville. Danville might be back next year. We don't know. We'll talk more with Gary Ryan over the next couple weeks probably, and hopefully we'll know more about the Danville Dashers coming back into the FPHL. But he did win a championship with the Danville Dashers. He's coached 23 games for the Toledo Storm in the ECHL, and he was a head coach in Fort Worth down in Dallas in the CHL. And everything. So he has some coaching prowess. Last year, the team went to the finals against the Danbury Hat-Tricks, and now they're in the finals against the Binghamton Black Bears. So this is a guy that understands players, how to get them going, how to get them moving. He's a good coach. When you compare that to Brant Sherwood has really impressed a lot of people in the last year and a half. Okay. But he does not. I mean, he's 34 years old against the 66-year-old Steve Harrison, right? So Coach Harry he's got his years. He's put his years in and everything as a player, as a coach, and you got to really respect that. And you got to respect that he's the type of guy that could lead a team to a championship. He's done it himself as a player 3 times and then as a head coach with the Danville Dashers. But I think Coach Sherwood might have a leg up on him on one thing. The recruiting that Coach Sherwood has done is impressive. He knows his X's and O's as well, right? But he's just starting to prove himself, right? This is the beginning for Coach Sherwood and where he's going to go and what he's going to do. So that's a look at Steve Harrison, the coach of the Carolina Thunderbirds. So for people who don't know who he is, don't know much about him, 3-time champion as a player, 1-time champion as a head coach, and he's definitely got the skills to get things done and whatnot. Okay, so who are the key contributors for the Carolina Thunderbirds? Now, we all know Mario Cavallari. We know how great of a goaltender is. He won goaltender of the year. They got Cody Karpinski, who's been in the league for a long time and had, a great season as well. And they both have shared all 6 games. Cody's played 3 and Mario's played 3. Mario and Cody are both 2-1. I got to be honest with you. I think they're going to go with Mario this weekend. But you never know. He's got 2 good goaltenders that have won him games. But let's talk about the forwards because that's where they are really strong on this team. Defensively, they're okay, but they're very good strong-wise on the forward side. Gus Ford is just a great player. Okay, at this level, in this league, he is always going to be good. This year, he scored 42 goals and 46 assists for 88 points. He had 92 penalty minutes. This guy can do just a little bit of everything, and he was a plus 36. Dawson Baker, who's also on the line with him, and Roman Kramer, okay? Dawson Baker, in 47 games, had 31 goals, 38 assists for 69 points, okay? And he was a plus 27. Now, the one thing I will say about Gus Ford, the other thing is he shoots the puck a lot. He had 230 shots in the regular season for them, and he also scored 11 goals on the power play. He can do a little bit of everything. He's like Tyson Kirkby in that way. Tyson Kirkby can do a little bit of everything. Play on the power play, play on the penalty kill, shoot a lot of pucks, score the goals, right? He had 39 goals this season. So Gus Ford has done it for the last few years, though. He's been a 40-goal guy for the last 3 years. He's really good. Dawson Baker's on his line with him, 31 goals, 38 assists for 69 points, plus 27. Very good player, 152 shots on the season. Now, I'm going to drop down to Roman Kramer because Roman Kramer played some time up in the SPHL. And in 35 games for the Thunderbirds, so he didn't play all the games because he did spend some time up in the SPHL. I think he got like 11 or 12 games. He has 16 goals, 25 assists for 41 points. That's their top line. Now, they do have a checking line. And the checking line has two of their other high-scoring guys. And that's Peter Pananchek, who has 10 goals, 44 assists for 54 points. He is a plus 22. Doesn't shoot as much. He's more of the passing kind of Czechoslovakian player. And then you have Yuri Pestuka, who has 19 goals and 30 assists for 49 points. I will be honest with you guys. This team is built a lot like the Black Bears in the sense that you have a couple guys that have scored a lot, and then you have your secondary guys, and it's deep in their lineup. It's not just, one line. They've got two very good lines that can score. Jan Salak is the other member of the Czech line, 22 goals, 25 assists, 47 points, a plus 24. Okay. They also have John Batista. They have Josh Kopenlinger. All right, these are all really good players, and those are the guys to look out for when the Black Bears face them this weekend, okay? 2 games in Carolina. All right, so how did the two teams make it to the finals, right? I find this very interesting because there's a story to tell with Carolina, okay, and where Binghamton took a different route. Carolina did not. All right, so we all know that Binghamton finished first in the East Division, okay? The Empire Division. I said East Division, like back in the old AHL days. But in the Empire Division, obviously Binghamton. So they faced off against the Watertown Wolves first, 2-game sweep of Watertown, and then a 2-game sweep of Motor City to get there. Now, with the Game 2 OT winner from Austin Thompson. So they did go overtime once against Motor City, and Austin Thompson with that crazy angle goal that a lot of people are still talking about today. Now, how about Carolina? Their route there was much different. They beat Port Huron in 3 games, then beat Columbus in 3 games. Okay, so they've played 6 games in the playoffs, and they've played a lot more overtime than the Black Bears have. They lost Game 1 to Port Huron, then turned around and won Games 2 and 3, and Game 3 was an OT winner from Tucker Firth. Okay, so that's really important. He's one of their kind of like clogs in the wheel that really keep the system going and everything. Tucker Firth is a guy that you will see, you'll notice out on the ice for the Carolina Thunderbirds. Lost to Game 1 in Columbus in the next round, but then won Games 2 and 3. Both went to overtime, and the Game 2 OT winner came from Yuri Pestuka, and then Game 3 double overtime winner from Gus Ford. Okay, so what's interesting about Carolina is in both of their rounds, they lost Game 1, but turned around and won the next 2 games. Okay, so Carolina, if Binghamton goes in to Carolina on Friday and they come out with a win, that doesn't mean anything. Carolina already has the confidence to know that they can come back on Saturday and get a win. Okay, so that is very, very important here. You have to know that Carolina is not going to be rattled by a loss in Game 1. They're just not going to be. That's how tough this series is going to be. That's how tough this is going to go. I don't think this is a sweep at all. I am thinking that Binghamton will split down in Carolina and then come back. And I hope that the hometown crowd, the seventh man, as Coach Sherwood has talked about it. I hope that is what brings the championship home in 4 games, which would be Saturday night, which would be perfect because everyone's going to want to go out and party on Saturday night down in downtown Binghamton if they win. But I just think you got to look at Carolina's story, know that they're not going to be out even if they lose game 1, right? And what if they win game 2? Or what if they win game 1 instead? And Binghamton has to come back and win game 2, okay? Binghamton hasn't had as much adversity in the playoffs as Carolina has, but Binghamton has come back from behind in 19 games this season. That's pretty impressive. You're down by a goal or 2 goals or 3 goals or 4 goals, and Binghamton has come back 19 times and gotten wins. That's a huge stat. So they understand how to do it. They know how to do it. They can get game-winning goals. I mean, all 4 of their games that they've won in the playoffs, 4 different game-winning goalers. 4 different game-winning goals from 4 different players. Okay, so that's the important thing here. But again, Carolina also very similar as well. They're made very. I think the teams are very different, but they're very similar in some cases too, right? You know, they have a couple guys at the top that can really score, and then they have a couple guys in the middle that are just really good, solid two-way players, and you just can't argue it. I think Binghamton is better on the defensive side of things, especially moving the puck and probably even defending. Mario has proved himself. I don't want to say that Connor McAnanima is on the same level. Connor hasn't had to play as many games because of how Coach Sherwood played 3 goalies really deep into the season. Mario is a good goalie, and he's already proven it. So I can't say Connor's at the same level or better, but I think that Connor has already started to show signs of making big saves at big moments, and that's important as well. Okay, and not that Mario hasn't done that; he has. That's why it's one of those things where I'm not going to pick sides on defense or offense. Listen, I think Binghamton's going to be a faster team. I think you're going to see that on the ice. Binghamton will probably play the speed game to their advantage, and it's going to help them. I believe that they're going to shoot more on Mario Cavalieri or Cody Koperski or whatever how you pronounce his name. I never get it right, especially when I want to say it. And then if I'm just walking through the house or walking down the street or driving in my car, I say his name correctly. Go figure, right? But either way, I think they're going to shoot more on the Carolina goaltenders. I think the Black Bears will probably get 1 or 2 power play goals, and they're going to matter and they're going to mean something. But I'm only going to predict this weekend. I think Binghamton comes back home with a split. I think Carolina gets a game. I think Binghamton gets a game. I think Binghamton will get game 1. Carolina gets game 2. And then they come back to Binghamton next week. And we'll talk about that next Thursday as we get you ready for games 3, 4, or 5. Right? And then this upcoming weekend, I've already talked to. I'm going to have Gary Ryan on from the Fed League Flash. He'll be on to talk to us and help me break down the games 1 and 2 in Carolina. So pretty cool stuff there. All right. So coming up next here on the Power Play Post Show, pretty simple. I'm very excited to have this gentleman on. Played D1 hockey. Took 4 years off, came back to pro hockey. He knows Jesse Anderson, friends with Jesse Anderson, and he's going to be on our show. He is Kyle Stephan, and we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers. Hi, this is Brandon Buczynski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. Very excited to have this gentleman on with us. He's got an interesting story to tell, and I'm going to let him tell it for us. He comes to us from the Binghamton Black Bears. He is one of their forwards. He is Kyle Stephan. Kyle, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on, and glad to get to talk to you. You've been with the team for 17 games now, and 4 games in the playoffs, and you're starting to get acclimated pretty well. But thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's been talked about and super fun to be here.
Let's talk a little bit about growing up in Barrie, Ontario. Now, for some people who don't know, it's I believe it's in between Lake Huron, Lake Ontario, just north of Toronto. Can you tell us a little bit about Barrie?
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's basically just about an hour dead shot north of Toronto there. So, yeah, just southern Ontario and that whole hockey mecca.
Yeah, and I would imagine, because I know there's a few junior teams in Barrie, correct?
Yes. There's only one junior team, so to speak, and that's the Barrie Colts of the OHL.
Right, and but there's probably a lot of youth hockey in Barrie, correct?
Oh, yeah, for sure, definitely. All the way down to house league, the teams are full for sure.
Yeah, and when did you start? Was it 5 years old, 6 years old, right around then when you started playing?
Actually, I'm originally from the West Coast. I'm from a small town in Banff, and so I grew up. The first place I ever skated was it was an outdoor lake, actually in the mountains that would freeze, and my dad would originally I was in one of the kangaroo backpacks. My folks would kind of buzz around on the frozen ice, and then when I was a few years old, I was thrown into just some kid skates, and my dad would kind of just carry me up the ice for a bit, and then I kind of progressed from there. But that was definitely the first place I ever skated was an outdoor rink.
That's interesting because I learned how to skate on an outdoor beaver pond. Beavers had it frozen up; they would hibernate, and we would skate on it afterwards, which was great. That's where I learned. We had to hike down a hill about 3 acres, so it's about a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile down a hill, and then put our skates on, and then skate on the beaver pond, which was kind of nice. But honestly, it was a beautiful atmosphere. If anybody got hurt, we had to carry each other back up the hill, which was kind of fun and everything. How soon was it until you knew that competitive hockey was definitely something for you?
I just don't remember a time where hockey wasn't a part of my life, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
My old man's sort of in the business, and it's kind of the religion of our family. My sisters, my mom, myself, we kind of just grew up watching hockey, watching the playoffs. I kind of always just loved it. Like I can't remember a time that I didn't.
Gotcha. And we'll talk about your dad for a second. He works for the New York Rangers. He's a scout and everything, and he's been doing that for a long time. And so the business of hockey has always been a part of your life, even kind of growing up, correct?
Yeah. I've been very fortunate that I've been able to see it up close the way I have, and just kind of have an idea of sort of the mental battles that go into it, just watching it, watching how quickly things can change. Your world can be changed. You can be, cut. You can be traded, the whole nine, and you got to wear it on the chin and kind of just move forward. So I definitely had an insight to that a little bit earlier than most, I would say, and yeah, it's been very helpful just sort of preparing.
Now, you played, obviously, AAA hockey, and then, obviously, a little bit even with the Barrie Colts under-16 team, the AAA team there, and everything. Talk about the competitiveness of AAA hockey in that area of Canada.
Yeah. To be honest, I've been pretty fortunate. Hockey's taken me a lot of places, and when I think of the minor hockey loops in Toronto as a city, I personally can't think of anything else. I've seen the Boston, I've seen, Minnesota, I've seen parts of New York that are real hockey crazy, and I can't take that away from them, but I just can't describe what the GTHL and the OMHA, the greater Toronto hockey sort of cult almost that is minor hockey out there. It is huge money, big money. People buying teams, people buying trainers, people buying travel for teams. It is like nothing I've ever seen.
Are you saying it's kind of very? Are you saying it's kind of like very cutthroat business wise?
Yeah. It gets that way,
really?
Which is unfortunate because it takes away from the kids, in my opinion. Because it's predominantly the players' parents that are getting involved in more or less of the drama, so to speak. There's always a bit of that, parents sort of weighing in on things and whatever. But for whatever reason, everything that I've seen in the Toronto region, from anyone that's sort of grown up around it, it's pretty wild. And like I said, sometimes it can sort of detract from the game and from the kids for sure. So I'm not saying it's the best thing ever, but as you said, it's extremely cutthroat, and it's like everyone in that region grows up thinking they're going to the OHL and they're going to the NHL. It's sort of the Toronto pipe dream.
Is there anybody telling or working with the kids, letting them know that some of you aren't going to make it that far? Because I got to imagine that when you think you're going to do it and you don't, there's got to be like a reality check somewhere, correct?
Absolutely, and that does happen with as kids sort of getting into the juniors sort of thing. But from what I've seen in the Toronto region, just because of the market in terms of like being a business that is created in terms of skills coaches and power skating and all of the business side of things that goes into minor hockey in Toronto now, like there's nutritionists, as I mentioned, the skating, the strength, the whole nine. These kids, they're not being told that message through the early years, which, to be fair, as a kid, you want to grow up hearing, you're going to make it, you put in the work, you'll get there, put in the work, you'll get there. And there's an aspect of that is true to the people that do succeed. Mm-hmm. But this becomes such a business model in the Toronto region that, the younger kids aren't being told that. They're being told, hey, just put in the work. Come to my camp. Come to my skate. I'll get you there. And they're not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. The skills and the skating are improving kids. But, no, the message probably doesn't come until a little bit later when you're starting to weed things out and you're not making the junior teams or you're not being drafted to the OHL.
Do you think that you had an advantage because your dad was in the business and that kind of helped level set you to a degree? Because he knew, some kids are going to get scouted, they're going to make it. Some kids are going to get scouted and not make it.
Yeah, and I have been cut from teams. Mm-hmm. And then, like I said before, that just being close to the game in the way that I was, you see people leave, you see people come, you see people go. And so, yeah, that's. I think I learned it sort of at the same pace about everyone else. Really, when I think back on it, it was really juniors when it came to a parent that, your world can be tilted upside down at the flip of a hat. So, yeah, I saw parts of it, but no, I'd say I still learned that lesson pretty much the same as everyone else.
What's junior hockey like? When you get into more of the junior side of hockey, you played with the NHL. How much of a step up is that when you're going from the AAA, the under 18 teams up to junior hockey? Even if it's junior A hockey, what's the competitive change like?
I would say, looking back on it, I wasn't a very big kid at first anyways, but it's probably the size is the first thing you notice.
Really?
You're coming from a league probably previous as, you're coming in as a 16-year-old that the year before some of the kids on your team maybe hadn't even hit puberty. And now you're playing against potentially, some of the teams that make runs in the playoffs will overload on 20 and 21-year-olds. So all of a sudden, that difference, though not major, at that age can be massive. You can truly have a man playing against a boy. So I remember coming in as a smaller kid and not having the height or had filled out at the time or anything. So I noticed that I struggled physically a lot, just battling for pucks and stuff. And it takes a while to get acclimated to playing at that pace against men at that strength, or young men at that strength. And then, similar to every time you jump up to a certain new level, like for instance, even here at pro, there's really few guys that aren't built with some mass on them, some like built like men. So that's always something I think people will struggle with, stepping into those thresholds in hockey specifically.
And what about the speed of the game? That was probably a big difference too.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody now has new leg power, the ability to move the puck faster. Everything happens at a step-up pace. I was always somebody that I felt like I could play at higher speeds at times. I personally struggled when the size changed. That was something that stood out to me more, I thought. But yeah, absolutely. And same thing. I mean, that's something that everyone probably talks about, stepping into those different thresholds, getting into a junior pace, maybe then from there to a college, or from juniors to pro, so to speak. It's the puck moves faster at every level. All of a sudden, even the short passes are passed hard and with intent. And then you watch the NHL where everything is extremely crisp and it's on the tape and people are catching passes and, the puck moves at a different pace for sure.
Now, how did you decide on American International College, IAC? How did you find out about them? And, were you recruited?
Yes. Yeah, I was. The first time I spoke to them, I was playing juniors in the BCHL up in Canada, and it was at the showcase, actually. I ended up speaking to one of the assistant coaches there, and it continued, and I went out and visited them. It was a great visit, and met the coaches, met the staff. It was everything sort of what I was looking for. And when the new coach came in with Eric Lang, his vision for the team was it was hard not to jump on board. It had the intent of being champions right away, and it seemed like everyone bought into the process. So it was more so the direction I thought the team was heading was probably one of the bigger things to me.
Now, they have a D1 program, and Quinnipiac, who, maybe 20 years ago, nobody thought Quinnipiac would ever be like a national champion D1 school. They were, I think, D3 for a while, and then they jumped up to D1 and everything. Do you think this day and age, because I know Binghamton University here in Binghamton, New York, is considering having a D1 school. They're D1 for all their other sports and everything. And there's, some people are like, well, there's a lot of excitement because of the transfer portal that you could become a better school quicker now than maybe even when Quinnipiac joined, the D1 ranks and everything. Do you think D1 hockey still has a room to grow, like a Binghamton University coming in and being a part of it?
Oh, yes. Oh, for sure. I definitely think so. I think there could be room in the old division that I was in, specifically the Atlantic division. But I think I've thought about this myself. I've talked to the team about it. I think that the Binghamton U campus is a beautiful campus. I think that if they were to construct an arena, ideally you'd probably want to do something along the size of whatever the Hockey East minimum is.
Right.
Being in this region here, I think that if you could create a facility on a campus like that's already there. Like I said, I think it's a very beautiful campus. As you said, just because of the portal, it's so easy to, hey, we've got a great facility. Look at this campus. You're at a big time. You're somebody at Boston U or University of North Dakota that isn't necessarily seeing the ice time that you were promised.
You're on the fourth line or the third line is what you're referring to, and coming over and playing on the first line at a D1 school. It's a lure. It's something that can bring kids to a brand new school.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And since the portal changed, where there's no longer the need of a red shirt if you do transfer a red shirt year, kids can step in now and play right away. So why wouldn't you?
Yeah. To me, it's a great thing, and I think there's about 70 D1 schools, and from what I've heard, that there's room to grow. That there are players that are not playing D1 hockey that could be but they're playing at either D2 or D3 because of the fact that there's just not enough roster spots, and so they're trying to get more ice time at a lower division.
And that is absolutely true. And frankly, I think hockey, though it is big in certainly the upper U.S., I think hockey, in comparison to other sports, is an untapped market in the U.S. So I think, you've got to get something. Imagine an SEC. You've got an Alabama-Georgia rivalry starting up, something like that, where these big-time schools that need, they kind of need a spark to watch hockey. But all of a sudden they're representing their team and it's the big time, and it's all of a sudden it's Division I for them and it matters, and they're in the NCAAs and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's going to create a fandom that, I don't know if it could ever rival the college football, but,
sure.
Maybe even be in the same ballpark as college baseball or get up to the college basketball level. It'd be hard to do, but, a guy can dream.
Yeah, we'll take a BU I'll take a BU versus Minnesota Golden Gophers any day. I mean, when it comes to, the championship game, national title game, I'd be up for that any day. But I see what you're saying. Some of the bigger schools in Division I sports could really take hockey to the next level, is what you're kind of saying.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So very, very, very interesting. So talk to me about AIC. I mean, you get there and everything. Just you told me off air. It's kind of a smaller school. Tell me a little bit about the school.
Yeah. So it was predominantly a school of athletics. We were the only Division I, but there was a significant amount of D2 athletes there, and they were very competitive teams throughout my time there. A lot of championships won in other sports. But yeah, outside of the student body that was in the athletics, it wasn't a very big school. I think we were, including the grad school, around 4,000 or 4,500 or something. So very, very small, and it was kind of cool in the sense that you knew everybody, and being all athletes, it kind of gelled for the most part pretty well. Everybody was there for a purpose. We had a lot of our plates, but we were able to still sort of meet other people and have some fun.
Now, for people who don't know, AIC is in Springfield, Massachusetts, right? And, which is a great hockey market. I think the Thunderbirds are there now, but it used to be the Indians and the Falcons that used to be there in the American Hockey League and everything. What was it kind of like being in, Springfield, Massachusetts for those 4 years?
Yeah, Springfield's, it's a very unique city, downtown and sort of where the actual campus is isn't the nicest neighborhood. It's a little bit rough, but I can't remember, I believe it was the end of my sophomore year, the MGM ended up putting a casino kitty corner to the arena.
Yeah. Okay.
Where the Falcons play.
Yep.
And that's actually where we were renting that arena as well. So that was my home arena for all 4 years, was downtown in Springfield there.
That's
very,
great.
very similar to the very similar rink to the Visions Memorial here. Slightly different in just layout, but very similar size and whatnot. Yep. So, yeah. So as soon as the casino went in, the police presence changed downtown, and that cleaned the city up quite a bit. There was a lot more money flowing through, and so it was just it made things a lot more comfortable downtown, and we were able to sort of go to the casino. It was a cool spot to hang out. We would park there during the week and whatnot. So,
were you guys able to get to any of the AHL games, to any of the Falcons games or Thunderbirds after they turned into the Thunderbirds?
Yeah. We just because of the way it works, they were often at home when we were away, and vice versa, sure. Just because of sharing of the rink. But if there were weeknight games, we would pop in. We were able to get some tickets most nights, so if we had the chance, we would pop in, and a lot of guys would go to games. Yeah.
Was there any? I mean, you guys obviously sharing the rink. Was there any times that you guys could train together? The two, I mean, I know it's D1 college versus AHL, but was there ever any time where training together?
I wish that was more of a thing. Unfortunately, our coaching staff was very strict on us sort of being around them. I guess there's some codes from the NCAA regarding use of facilities and such with pro teams. So we had to sort of tiptoe. We weren't really meant to be like on the ice with them at the same time and stuff like that. Or, we would bump into them at certain nights, maybe after games or whatever. And they were always cool with us. But yeah, we didn't, to be honest, we didn't really mingle too much. I would say it was only a handful of times we even really got to talk to a player in my 4 years.
So talk about Jesse Anderson for a second. He's a couple years younger than you. You told me he was, he was the guy that helped you get to the Black Bears, right?
Correct. Yeah. He's a good buddy of mine. We go back a long ways. He's a good kid. But yeah, so it's like I mentioned to you sort of before we got on air here was we grew up playing summer hockey together. So we would do sleepaway camps. And became friends through that, and then sort of the friendship just carried on through the years as we continued to both play. We sort of went our separate ways through the college loop and whatnot, but we've always stayed in touch. We've always been friends over the summers. We play golf. I got a lot of mutual friends and such. So, and it just kind of came up in conversation that I was kind of exiting my job. I stepped away from what I was doing, and I was sort of in limbo at the moment, but I kind of had an itch to get back and play some hockey, and so I said, "Hey, Jesse, do you guys still have the ability to sign anybody?" And he ended up having a conversation with Brant Sherwood for me, and Brant took a gamble on me, and he knew that obviously I'd stepped away for a few years there, but I was given the opportunity, and fortunately enough, I've been able to sort of take it and not look back.
Yeah, and it took you a few games to kind of get your legs underneath you again. Is that how it felt to you when you first got on the ice? I think it was in Elmira, was your first game on March 1st and everything. How long did it take you to get those legs going again, the skating going again? Because I'll tell you what, when I saw you March 1st compared to, say, April 12th, it was completely different. It felt like you just had a lot more gusto to you. Yeah,
I'm glad that I didn't have the usual small sample size that comes with a tryout. Normally in pros, you kind of get 3 to 5 games to show you got something. So fortunately, I had I'd say about the 10 game mark.
Yeah,
is really where I felt like I was able to get my legs under me, and it was it was hard to find the win. Like. You keep playing hockey after you step away from a high level, but you're playing men's league, and everyone's playing with the puck, and you're occasionally kind of chasing a puck down, but you get back out to high level to the pro hockey, and guys are sprinting for pucks. Guys are chasing things down with serious intent, and you miss that. There isn't too much in regular life where you're actually at 100% revving the engine. That was the biggest thing. It was just getting the full-on sprinting lungs back.
Yeah.
And that took about, as I said, about 10 games.
Yeah, I don't miss, being a former player long time ago. I'm actually, I used to say I'm much older, but now because you're a little bit older than most of the guys there, I don't have to say I'm much older. But I don't miss some of the practice drills that I had to do and everything. But 4 years, you hadn't done a drill, right? You went out there and played men's league stuff, but then you're coming in and Sherwood's watching you, and you have to do these drills and everything. Was there a part of you that first couple days said, "Why am I doing this?"
No, I never asked why am I doing this. I wanted to do this, and I knew that. It was more like, is he going to cut me?
Really? You were more worried about that?
For sure. And because I was going to give it my fair shake, and I'm back into the game, and I knew that if I could break through if I could shake the rust off, that I had more than what I was currently showing. To me, that's what I was worried about. I was just worried that my hourglass had enough sand that I could actually get through to the other side where I felt like I could skate again and play with the puck and, just sort of move again.
Now, do you remember that first pro goal against Mississippi?
I do, yes. Yes, I do.
And
5-hole.
And now, okay, so it was the 5-hole. So what was that like for you? Because obviously Mississippi came in, Mississippi scored the first goal, and then Binghamton basically started scoring after that and whatnot. Talk a little bit about when you did score that goal in the second Mississippi game and how that felt.
It was. To be honest, that weekend it was one of the first weekends I was really feeling good about my game, like just skating and stuff.
Yeah.
So as great as the goal felt, we were already kind of beating up on them. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a 3-2 hockey game or a 2-2 hockey game. I think it was like a 6-1 game or something. So yeah, the goals didn't mean more or sort of feel the best, but just to be able to tuck one and I was actually going for I remember that goal specifically. I was trying to bounce it off the goalie's pad. Mm-hmm. I don't remember who was breaking on the left side, and I was trying to bounce it off his right pad and sort of shoot a rebound out. And he just didn't get down quick enough, and it went through his 5-hole. So I remember kind of chuckling because I had been struggling to score, and the one that I didn't try and score on went in. But yeah, that one. That just kind of just gets the pep in your step enough that you can do it. It's like, all right, I got the first one. Let's start shooting with some trying to pick your spots now, and let's try and put some in the back of the net on purpose here.
How quickly did you know that you were on a good team? Like how many games did it take to realize that you were on a team that was destined to do okay or better?
I thought pretty much right when I got here, as great as it is, watching getting in and playing the other teams and stuff. Mm-hmm. I remember watching the first Elmira game or playing in the first Elmira game, playing against Elmira, and then coming back and practicing that first week and thinking, practice is more intense or more skilled than the game yesterday.
Really,
the practice here is better than what we were the quality of practice, just because I thought we just had better players, was better. So that was sort of the first inclination. I was like, that stood out. And then I remember seeing we were battling to get in. There's guys that are out of the lineup, in and out of the lineup, that are busting their ass in practice, just trying to get in. And that's a telltale sign of, in my opinion, of a good team. If you've got guys going hard in practice to earn their spots, guys earning positions on the weekend in practice during the week. From my experience, those are the teams that win.
Now, Scherzi is only 5 years older than you. He's been out of pro hockey for a couple of years, from at least playing it and everything. You talked about the intensity in the practices and everything. Are you surprised that he's 34 years old and able to kind of, construct this team and to organize the practices in such a way that they're being so successful when they get to game time?
If I hadn't met Brant if I hadn't met Scherzi previously and not known his ability to do all this, at his age I might have questioned it, but the way he recruits and the way he, does his thing in the office, working the practice and the games and the video out, no, he's got a hockey mind and he works really hard for it. Like I said, his ability to recruit is really solid. It does help that he's got, the rink as ammo in his court, or on his side, having the rink in the facility and the fans here. It's pretty solid for recruiting, but no, he's really articulate. He's smart. He knows his thing. I'm not surprised that he's been able to do what he's doing now that I know him at all. No.
Now, you've kind of gone from the 10th forward when you started playing kind of up to second line center talk a little bit about that progression. Was it something that you saw happening as it was happening?
I mean, when you get here, you see where your name's on the board, and you go, okay, I want to be there. How do I get there? And you keep showing up to work every day, and just trying to, you don't ask for it. You just let your play sort of dictate, force his hand.
Yeah.
That was something that my coach in university would always say. It was, make yourself hard to take out of the lineup. Make yourself hard to take out of the top spot, whatever it is, right? Whatever you're going for. So when I first got here, our power play was doing pretty solid. And so one of the two ways that you create value as a player is being on special teams. So I specifically asked, hey, is there any room? And he kind of brought up the penalty kill. So I knew that if I wanted to be hard to take out of the lineup, I wanted to sort of master one of those two sides of the special teams. So I kind of picked up the PK and I've been focusing on that quite a bit. And that just sort of kept me around in the conversation. And then I think just as my play started to improve and I could skate again in my lungs and we're starting to work, I could breathe deep again. Then I think my confidence sort of built, and then I was like, all right, where do I want to go? And let's do this. Like, it's time to take something here.
Now, when you got here, the first 17 games, you weren't that much of a penalty machine, but the last 4 games in the playoffs, 12 penalty minutes against the Rockers at home, 4 up there, 10 against the Wolves, and then 4 up there as well. So what's kind of happened? Has your game gotten a little bit more feisty in the playoffs?
I think that's been a part of it. My mouth's gotten me in some trouble here a little bit in the last little few games there. But yeah, there's also just been some bad penalties. Like, I've been a little errant with my stick, and to be honest, in the playoffs, you can't be having that. You've really got to lock things down and can't be giving the other team opportunities to end your season. So, the parts of that have been my fault for sure, and not every one of those penalties needs to be taken for sure. There's times where you're in the play, heat of the moment, or defensively you're trying to break up a play or stop a goal. You can live with those, but there's been some offensive penalties sort of roughly 200 feet from my net, which you just can't be taking those. So as good as funny a comment as it is to be talking about it, it's actually been a bit of a struggle of mine. Well,
I didn't mean it in any negative way.
No,
because
I know you didn't.
These games are physical, and especially against the Rockers, where you guys were trying to get into the head of Trevor Babin a little bit, and Tyson did a phenomenal job of doing that and getting him out of the game and whatnot. But the Wolves have always played the Black Bears very, very tough and very physical, and they have guys on their team that are skilled players, but for some reason just kind of go nuts. So it's not a surprise. There are other guys on the team that are also, got some penalty numbers just from the playoff games and everything. But the playoffs are just that much more physical than regular season.
Yeah, and the way people sort of care about things is it's playoffs. Everything's a little more intense. Guys get heated a little quicker. It means a little more. Sparks fly a little faster. So you're right. They're absolutely.
So before I get to the 6 more questions which I like to do with all the guys and everything, it's the same 6 questions I ask all the guys. Let me ask you this. You've now played 21 games, 17 regular season, 4. How happy are you to be back playing competitive hockey at something like this level?
I can't. It's hard to put into words the peace that I find in my soul again. It's just
really. I'm
back in a competitive environment. As crazy and as high octane and as violent as that arena can be, the lifestyle that I live when I'm playing that way, more on the social side of things as much as the physical, just being able to show up to the rink and have a group of friends again every day. You've got guys you rely on, guys you trust to all get this thing that we're trying to do right, you know?
Yeah.
And there has to be a lot of faith, a lot of trust in your other guys on the team for that. And when you're around it the way that I've been my whole life, and most hockey players are, you just the sports in that general sense. You get to go back to it the way I have. It's so much fun. Like I've got energy. I got so much youthful energy again in my life that, working 9 to 5 sort of took away. So
I know that
I'm
feeling.
ecstatic to be back. My soul is happy.
Well, that's great.
Exactly.
No, I mean that's absolutely amazing. I know when I brought the podcast back, because I did the podcast from 2003 or 2004 up to 2015, and when I brought it back a couple years ago, because the Black Bears have been just such an amazing organization to be able to cover and everything. It just changed me, being back at the rink for practices, doing post game, being up in the press box, doing the things that you love. It sounds corny, but it's like it completes you, so to speak, and that type of thing. So I can understand where you're coming from there and everything. So the fans here in Binghamton, were you surprised on how energetic, how passionate, how much they've been into the Black Bears, even in the time that you've been here?
Absolutely. I've been fortunate enough to play in some rinks that get fans and whatnot, but the passion that the Binghamton fans bring it's the wildest I've personally played in front of. Even for instance, the last game, there was a goal called back, and just the way that the fans are letting the refs have it, like they care. They're in. They truly are the extra man on the ice for us.
So you guys do hear it. I've asked this to a bunch of guys. You guys do hear it. You do feed off of it, right?
And we do 100%. 100% we feed off of it. Mm-hmm. In the moment when you're battling for a puck or you're chasing something down or you're trying to make a play, no, not actively. We're not. It's not something we're going, wow, the fans on it. But let's say, for instance, a break happens and a guy's kind of breaking in alone or a breakaway or whatever. We hear the fans going, like getting up on their feet, getting ready or whatever. And then especially as soon as you put one home and the place goes nuts the way it does, you feel like it's hard not to. You don't just hear it, you feel it.
Now, what about when, I'm sure you guys did hear this, but when the Kirkby goal was being reviewed, or the no goal was being reviewed and everything, I've been in that arena for many, many years. I've heard many, many chants happen. I've never heard them all kind of do like an Atlanta Falcons kind of like, where they're moving their arms and they're saying, goal, 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 goal. I'd never seen that before in Binghamton, and it was pretty wild. And this is from a single A hockey environment, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, you've been to NHL games, you've seen AHL games, Division I games and everything, and this city still feels like it's a big time city, in minor pro hockey. It's just amazing how that is.
It's wild to me. Like, I was trying to compare it to something, but it's almost as if we have like a massive student section. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying that in the college towns that have big followings, they've always got that crazy student section that goes nuts. And there is a flair of that in Binghamton. We get loud, we get rowdy, we get on our feet. We're doing the hand gestures. We're waving the teams off the ice goodbye. Like, it's pretty cool. Yeah,
you got to meet Frank Slack. He usually brings a broom for the sweep and everything, and he sits over by the corner where the other team goes off and everything. He's become a little bit of a celebrity because they allow him to bring in the broom so he can sweep off the team after a sweep and everything. So Carolina, you did not get to play against Carolina. Obviously, in the beginning of the season, the team played against them 4 times. They basically went 2-2 against them. Binghamton won down there once. They won up here at home once. What has Schurzy told you guys so far about Carolina?
We've kind of touched on them a little bit, but the keys to us bringing the championship home are in our locker room. For us to win, it's for us to play our game and to stick to our game plan and just make sure we're bringing our best to the table. If we do that, consistently here in the next 2 weeks, it doesn't. We could talk about Carolina, but that's not what's gonna make the difference.
What's in the locker room does.
And we're obviously going to do our pre-scout. We're going to break down their threats and their power plays, their special teams, and we're going to try and do, the homework required that goes into something like this. But like I said, for us to win, the ball's in our court, if you ask me.
All right, so I usually ask 6 more questions. This is a little segment that I do usually for the Sunday show, but the Sunday show is going to be a wrap-up show of the 2 games in Carolina. And so let me ask you those now here and everything. Are you ready for this? These are fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do it.
So to this point in your hockey playing career, what has been your greatest achievement?
To this point, I would say would be winning the division at AIC and then going on to upset St. Cloud at the first round of Nationals.
Oh, that's pretty cool. No, that's good.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Where did that game take place? Which arena?
That took place in North Dakota. We were in was it the Sioux Falls? Is the USHL team in Sioux Falls, is that correct?
Yep,
I don't remember off the top of my head.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we ended up losing to Denver. Had a good buddy there. It was a fun game, but unfortunately lost to Denver. But yeah, that was probably and winning the division that year as well. My parents were able to come up and surprise me. I didn't know they were going to be there, so that was fun.
That's very cool. And of course, Denver's got a great program too.
Absolutely. Oh, for sure.
Okay, so number 2, are you a Nintendo, Xbox, or PlayStation player, and what is your go-to game if you are?
I grew up being an Xbox guy.
Okay.
I've kind of made the leap actually onto computer. I don't have my computer here with me, but I'm on the PC realm now. I play just like shooter battle royale style Call of Duty and Fortnite. I'm not great at the sports games. I play here with the guys sometimes, but I've always been more of a shooters Call of Duty kind of guy.
Gotcha. Now, did you build your own PC, or did you go and buy one?
Funny enough, Jesse helped me build a PC.
Really? So, wow, I didn't know Jesse built. I work in IT, so that interests me.
Yeah, he's pretty tech savvy. I'm not going to lie.
Next time I see him, I'm going to have to talk to him about that.
Yeah.
All right, number 3.
Absolutely.
Are you a rock, country, or hip hop music lover, or EDM? Because a couple of the guys said EDM. If they're like, hey, can I pick EDM?
Yeah.
And who's your go-to artist if you of those?
It sort of depends on the season. I think turning the bend into summer here, it's probably going to be country again. Come the summer, sunny days, the country sort of starts to get going. But for specifically working out and like pregame and stuff like that, I listen to a lot of electric dance music. I've got a number of European buddies, and I've kind of dipped my toes into those waters of the underground techno. So I've got some songs that'll not a lot of guys on the team, other than maybe a couple Euros, but maybe not. Well, there's no Euros in the team here now, but some of the stuff that maybe only Europeans would like.
Awesome. All right. So you've only been here for 21 games, but at least a month and a half now, 2 months. Who is the funniest guy in the locker room?
Funniest guy in the locker room. Who makes me laugh the most?
This is always the tough one.
Yeah, well, the thing is everybody's got their zingers. Everyone's got their moments, Mm-hmm. Conversations sort of migrate in the locker room, they meander in different directions, and somebody always throws something in. Everybody's got a little something to say or whatever, but moments that happen. Brody is for the most part, the majority of times I'm with Brody, I'm laughing. It's pretty funny. So I might have to go Brody.
One of the new collegians. Okay. All right. Awesome.
Exactly.
All right. Number 5. What is your go-to cheat meal or snack that you say is not in your normal diet?
If I had to say something, I really like it. Like on a Sunday off day, whatever, you go and you get a nice smash burger, like a Five Guys or something. I'd say Five Guys is up there for me as a current love for a cheat meal. If we had a Chick-fil-A, maybe not on Sundays, obviously, but Chick-fil-A I do like too.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. Okay, number 6, the last one. All right, a zombie outbreak has happened, and you're locked in an ice hockey arena. Who is the one person, dead or alive, or fictional, that you would want there with you at the arena?
Conan the Barbarian.
Love it. All right, that's perfect. Wow. I'll accept that answer. Absolutely 100% accept that answer.
Yeah.
Kyle, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate you coming on. Good luck this weekend in Carolina. There's obviously the 2 games, Friday and Saturday nights. I'm hoping you guys come back with both wins, but a split would be good too. We'll just take anything to make sure that it's a little bit easier when you guys come back to Binghamton and everything. But thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. Thanks again for the time.
All right, and we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
If you're a Binghamton hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net. You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. I want to thank Kyle Stephan for answering all of our questions. He even did the 6 more questions that we normally do on Sunday, but because this Sunday we'll be covering the first 2 games of the finals, we figured we'd just squeak in those 6 more questions. Now, very cool to talk to Kyle. I know he's become a fan favorite pretty quickly here in Binghamton. So, okay, again, a reminder, this weekend in Carolina, a 7:30 start, May 3rd, Friday night in Carolina, 7:35 start in Carolina. Another note, the Black Bears office will be closed on Friday. So if you're listening to this on Thursday, the Black Bears office will be closed on Friday. And that's because basically the whole staff is heading down to the game to help assist Brooks and Brandt and anything that they need. Pretty much the whole staff is going to be down there. I believe even EJ is going down. I don't think Josh Williams is going down, but maybe he is. I'm not really sure about that. He's the basically the guy who produces everything that you see on the YouTube stuff. Josh Williams is great. Welcome to the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Josh Williams, appreciate you being a part of this as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this weekend. I think a split, but it should be a lot of fun. Black Bears are only the 4th team in Binghamton hockey history to be here in this position playing for a championship. Before now, 1 and 2 out of 3 series. Let's see if we can make it 2 out of 2 in 4 series. So I want to thank everybody for listening to the Power Play Post Show. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Cast, and Amazon Music, and on iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to, and please subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Go to Facebook and search Power Play Post Show. We would appreciate that. And check out BinghamtonHockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. Thank you to Rob Lapolis, our MC, who is calling a Game 7 tonight, his first one ever. Congratulations, Rob, on that, and go Adirondack in their Game 7. John Patitucci, our musical director, and a Black Bears forward, Kyle Stephan. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. I hope you enjoy the games this weekend. And if you're a Black Bears fan and you're going down, please listen to the Power Play Post Show all the way down. We've got some great guests all season long that you can listen to, and that would be very cool if you were doing that in the car on your way down to Winston-Salem, where the Black Bears and the Carolina Thunderbirds will be playing games 1 and 2 this Friday and Saturday. I am Bob Howard. I will talk to you guys on Sunday with Gary Ryan as we do a kind of a weekend wrap-up show together, and thank you for listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.